Technological displacement and unemployment, the defining issues of our era. There is an issue that is largely ignored that needs to be brought to the forefront of every person's mind and understanding. The issue comes in a related pair of topics called technological displacement and technological unemployment. Here and there, both the mainstream and alternative media have covered this issue, but the last time this issue was given any real merit was back in 2016 with Andrew Yang and the clamoring of UBI. In my view, technological displacement and unemployment are the most important and crucial issues society must immediately face and remedy, even more than climate change. If we, as a society, do not put plans into place to deal with technological unemployment and displacement, their socioeconomic effects will happen so fast and be so disastrous, they can very easily destabilize our fragile societies and lead humanity into a technocratic authoritarianism. In this video essay podcast, I want to bring forth these very important issues of technological displacement and unemployment, their implications, why they go unaddressed, and what we need to do about them. Preface: I understand that most of us are forced to function at the survival level under our current economic system. People care about their jobs, the cost of living, and making it until next paycheck, no matter if you're on the left, the right, or apolitical. In political context, it is that myopic and narrow vision survival mentality that shapes people's ideologies and voting habits. For many Americans, their job is everything to them, and that alone is what drives their thoughts, actions, and voting choices. So when politicians come along and start spewing rhetoric like, "Protect American jobs," "We can bring jobs back to America," "I'll create jobs," "I'll make America great again," or "better wages and union protections," or "fair share at the American dream," people will always vote for whichever candidate they believe will do a better job at getting them a job. Because of our manufactured culture and education, today's working class still cling to the hope of a socioeconomic structure based upon what their parents taught them. That of the noble and sacred 40-hour work week with benefits and loyalty to a good company for decades will somehow return with a new presidential administration and return us to the good old days. But that is an obsolete way of thinking, and that socioeconomic paradigm is in its death throes. People need to understand, through the context of history, how work played a role in a person's life. In general, a human's way and definition of work were structured and defined by the eras in which they lived. Consider work in terms of the eras of hunter-gatherers, the early agricultural era, rudimentary systems of barter and trade, kingdoms and fiefdoms and feudalism, colonialism and industrialization. It was during the Industrial Revolution that humans were drawn from their agrarian and piecemeal lifestyles and shoved into mass cities created for the robber barons and the industrialists. And it was technology that allowed for that shift to occur. The 1% ownership class, through the Industrial Revolution, learned how to systematically and economically control the masses using technology, and thus set up a socio-economic system to benefit the 1% ownership class. In the transitional era we currently live, humans have been conditioned to accept a 40-hour work week wage for labor system, but are now forced to accept a less stable gig economy due to big tech's influence on our social economic system. This is our current stage of socio-economic evolution in terms of work, and our socio-economic system cannot adapt fast enough as tens of millions of people start falling through the cracks of progress. Our technology has blown past the obsolete 18th, 19th, and 20th century paradigms of working for wages to which our conditioned contemporary society continues to desperately cling to. People still want their 40-hour work week with benefits, but this era is now at an end, and the 1% ownership class knows something most of you do not. They know that because of AI and automation, you will no longer be needed to farm their lands, process their foods, run their factories, design and build their trinkets, ship their merchandise, code their websites and applications, run their networks, build the roads and houses, and so forth, like you were needed in the past. The reality that the 99% working class refuses to face, the reality that is being purposefully hidden, and the crucial open dialogue that is being suppressed from the people, is that the coming explosion of automation and AI technologies will have severe consequences for the working class. It will be impossible for the working class to earn a living. The hyperinflation of currencies, further destabilization of society, and the installment of authoritarian technocratic dystopia where you live and in everything as a service control society will all be consequences of technological displacement and unemployment. The 1% ruling ownership class know that technological displacement and unemployment will be huge issues when we have masses of unemployed and underemployed people. Do you now understand why the 1% are so unapologetically and brazenly doing what they are doing, stealing as much money as they can, being reckless and unaccountable, buying up as much land as they can and building their getaways? Most importantly, there is a reason why the role of technology defining our meaning of work has been overlooked in the context of history. The 1% ruling ownership class do not want you to understand the significance of that relationship, because if the working class understood how powerful technology truly is, the 99% working class would lever the 1% ruling class out of power with technology. What are technological displacement and technological unemployment? Technological displacement and technological unemployment are not new concepts or terms, but are relatively unspoken in today's public, political, and social conversations. Technological displacement and unemployment are simply the loss of jobs due to machines or technology taking over people's jobs. The terms are often used interchangeably, but there is a subtle nuance. Technological displacement means the implementation of technology that results in a worker losing their old job, but the worker may have found another job, oftentimes at reduced pay or outside of their original skill set. It also means the general state of where technology is displacing jobs on a societal scale. Technological unemployment is where a person becomes unemployed due to technology being implemented and cannot find new work in any field. Technological unemployment may also mean the general state of where implementation of technology is creating unemployment on a societal scale. Some historical examples of technological displacement and unemployment were weavers losing their job to textile mills, the shift away from a subsistence agrarian society, trades such as printers, bookbinders, shoemakers, seamstresses, switchboard operators, elevator operators, and shorthand typists. In our current society, we are witnessing the disappearance of such jobs as data entry clerks, bank tellers, travel agents, cashiers, and secretaries. We are now on the cusp of seeing warehouse workers and fast food cooks being replaced by robots, and with the recent push of AI, we are watching musicians, artists, content creators, graphic designers, and copywriters face more and more pressure to survive and retain their creative dignity. At this point in human history, it seems as if no jobs are safe from the impacts of technological displacement. Even technicians, engineers, tradesmen, and surgeons now face competition from AI and automation. Technological displacement and unemployment are rapidly approaching, and this is a consequence of capitalist market economics and technological advancement. Capitalism's ultimate goal is to make a profit by any means possible, the most profit by any means possible, regardless of ethics or concern for human well-being. It's basic economics 101 that if you can replace a human with a machine and it increases profitability, that job will be automated. And any legislative attempts to protect workers from technological unemployment and displacement will be mere futile lip service politicians use as showmanship to say that they are looking out for the working class. Technological displacement and unemployment are a tsunami that big tech created out of the search for short-term profits without considering the long-term devastating consequences. Right now, technological displacement and unemployment are a large swell out in the deep ocean that was levered up from the earthquake of quote-unquote technological innovation, and there's no bringing it back. Humanity is woefully unprepared for what is to come when that tsunami hits. But what is shaping up seems to be is an opportunistic big tech and 1% ownership class power grab where they will come in and grab up the remains of the decimated analog society and build it into a digital dystopian technocracy based upon their vision of what humanity should be. Why technological displacement and unemployment go unaddressed. The reason why you do not hear mainstream media and big tech talking about how technological unemployment and displacement will destroy the working class and have the potential of destabilizing society is because of two main reasons: ignorance and an admission of guilt. First, let's address the ignorance about technological unemployment. As you know, no one really talks about technological displacement or unemployment, from the everyday person to politicians. Imagine asking any of your elected officials to talk about technological unemployment or displacement. Do you think they'd have any clue what you're talking about or asking? What causes it? Its implications? What would they say if you asked them, do you have any plan for technological displacement and unemployment? So few politicians have any technical training or experience and cannot comprehend technology on a systems input, output, cause, and effect level. They likely would have no answer for you and would likely need to get one of their underlings to go out, research the topic, and write up some rhetoric using artificial intelligence. Now, for the admission of guilt. Let's start with any politician who understands technological displacement and unemployment and their consequences. They will likely be of the businessman or woman type who only sees technological unemployment or displacement through the lens of business. And for them, technological unemployment and displacement are great things because it means more money for them due to AI and automation. So for any politician who is aware of what technological unemployment or displacement are and starts talking to you about it, be very critical of what they are saying, for they are financially benefiting when you lose your job to cost-efficient automation. Likely, you'll just get the pull yourselves up from your bootstraps line. Now for the real slap in the face. Any 1% ruling ownership class member, especially coming from big tech, talking about technological displacement and employment would be a total admission of an unsustainable economic system, a consolidation of power, and the end of the illusion of a free and fair market economic system. It would be a total admission by the 1% ownership class that the beasts of AI and automation they have unleashed cannot be controlled and will eventually destabilize and eat society. When AI and automation come to dominate society, there will be no free market, no matter how much lip service, marketing, and outright lies they try to twist with techno-vomit words like empowerment, productivity, and innovation. The consequences of technological unemployment and displacement by AI and automation will render market competition by any mom and pops or inspired bootstrapping entrepreneurs irrelevant and impossible due to market dominance and the sheer inability to compete against AI and automation. The 1% ownership class, especially big tech, know that AI and automation will destroy the workforce over the next 15 years, so they try to avoid the conversation. They do not want to take responsibility for their market externalities, nor do they want to draw the ire of the working class they will crush. They simply do not want to admit their guilt, and they do not want to admit the only solution is an artificial, everything is a service techno-feudalism where you are nothing more than a digital sim for their digital cities and virtual fiefdoms. The implications of technological displacement and unemployment. Consider how unstable life for many people has become since 2007. Consider how unstable things are perceived to have become since 2020. The perception of the instability of life is seeming to go arithmetic. Consider how the quality of life for Americans have decreased since 2007, with things like the difficulty in finding good, secure jobs, homelessness, violence, mass shootings, mental illness, drug addiction, the loneliness epidemic, and the hostile attitude one half of the nation has towards the other half. And now, in 2025, we are now witnessing proto-fascism rooting itself into American politics. Dwell on that arithmetic image of the negativity we've been seeing from 2007 to 2024. Now imagine 60% of the working population unemployed and or underemployed due to technological displacement and unemployment. All of the aforementioned negativity experienced from 2007 to 2024 will go exponential due to technological displacement and unemployment over the next 10 to 15 years. Consider the vile anger and resentment coming from MAGA and the right wing towards who they feel are responsible for the decline of American society, as seen in the 2024 election. As nothing really improves over the next 4 to 6 to 8 years, and when technological displacement hits their demographic the hardest over the coming decade, the vile anger and resentment coming from MAGA and similar groups will resonate more and more with similar vibes seen in 1920s and 1930s Germany. It's going to get very ugly very fast. Technological unemployment and displacement lends to the creation of conspiracy theories. In recent years, right-wingers have been touting this great replacement theory that women, immigrants, and LGBTQ people, DEI wokeism, are taking their jobs. Such people still do not fully comprehend the impact that technology and capitalist economic markets have upon their lives and opportunities, either because they are unaware, are too intellectually lazy to take the time to understand, or simply want to remain willing bigots. They cannot understand, or they refuse to believe, that their own kind will replace their jobs with robots and AI. The real quote-unquote great replacement theory is that corporations and big tech are replacing their jobs with AI and automation. Even right-wing business owners will automate their workforce jobs away, and while right-wing politicians run cover by blaming immigrants, minority groups, or the latest conspiracy theories. One of the most important things that people need to understand and accept is that voting for a politician on either side is not going to be a valid option to mitigate technological displacement and unemployment, because politicians are so bought and paid for by big tech and big business. It's laughable to think that any lasting or substantial legislation will be passed to protect workers' jobs from AI and automation. Recently, we've seen Gates, Musk, Bezos, Pichai, and Zuckerberg cozy up to Trump and the right wing in order to gain favorable business environments. It's just a matter of time that more tech giants kiss the ring of any politician as they buy off more and more politicians in both parties. Big tech and big business will, in the name of profits, without impunity, automate away as many jobs as possible, especially the high-paying jobs. Automation will be so pervasive and ubiquitous over the next 10 to 15 years, the livelihoods of tens of millions of Americans will be destroyed. No matter how many times politicians tell you, we're going to bring back and protect American jobs or protect the American worker, it's a lie. Big tech and big business will collude together to reduce their workforce in the name of profits and the bottom line, whether there is a Democrat or Republican in the office. Politicians are no more powerful than lifeguards who think they can control the tides of capitalism. And all those politicians care about is securing your vote and collecting your donor money so they can stay afloat themselves. Big tech and big business are now tied at the hip in a symbiotic relationship to automate and AI as many jobs as possible. Blue collar or white collar, it doesn't matter. Whatever collar around your neck, you are just a disposable data point in a cost analysis calculation, as proven by what Doge is doing. We are now in an era of where big tech and big business are going to do whatever they want to do, no matter how much we protest, no matter how much the working class clamors about the broken social contract. Big tech and big business now have a surplus labor pool filled with desperate souls trying to tread water, a pool full of drowning people who will reach for a lifeline, even if it means suffocating slowly in a wage slave cell. The myth of just get a new job or career. There is a myth of, well, just retrain for a new job or a career if you lose your current job. That may have been somewhat true for people in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, but henceforth AI and automation are going to destroy so many jobs that there will be no new good jobs or careers to retrain for. Consider this, in the United States, that if robots come in and wipe out fast food workers over the next decade, a quick Google search approximates 4.8 million fast food jobs. Let's say automation wipes out 70% of those jobs. That's 3.36 million people without work. Who are they going to go work for? And in what industry? Let's look at warehouse jobs. A quick Google search approximates 11 million jobs. Conservatively, let's say automation wipes out 40% of those jobs. That's 4.4 million people without work. Who are they going to go work for? So let's say that we now have 7.8 million people out of work who cannot get another fast food job, who cannot get another warehouse job, and who cannot go get a retail job because all those jobs have been automated away too. Let's look at computer programmers and web developers in America. A quick Google search approximates that there are 342,000 programmers and 94,100 web developers. Let's say AI wipes out 50% of those jobs over the next decade. That's 218,000 jobs gone. Who are they going to go work for? Are they going to go get a fast food job when other fast food workers can't even get another fast food job? And we haven't even discussed the impact of outsourcing tech jobs either. From those simple examples, AI and automation will affect both low and high wage workers alike, and the personal and systemic impacts will be tremendous. On a societal level, people who are already forced to take low wage, low skilled jobs just to survive will be under more economic pressure and instability. Consider that all those engineers, computer nerds, and tech geeks displaced by technology, who likely have tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt to repay, now have no way to repay their debts, no matter how hard they try. Both low and high wage earners will lose their incomes and cause a negative, systemic, cascading feedback loop that will ripple through the economy. Consider the systemic job losses and cascading effects when graphic designers, telemarketers, receptionists, retail workers, translationists, bookkeepers, writers, paralegals, administrators, draftsmen, CAD designers, and so forth are technologically displaced. How are you going to retrain tens of millions of people for jobs that no longer exist? Are society and capitalism just going to make up new jobs just to keep people employed? Are we going to become a society of dog walkers, fast food runners, courtesy shoppers, car counters, pooper scoopers, road sweepers, blockchain developers, crypto scammers, social media influencers, and YouTubers? Are we all just supposed to start selling candy and hot dogs on the street or start doing drop shipping on the internet? Perhaps that is why Trump and the right-wingers want to get rid of the immigrants so you all can go get jobs in the hot new field of agricultural harvesting engineering, pun intended. The myth of just go retrain for a new career ends with our generation. What little new and novel jobs created to support automation and AI will be very limited. Our society cannot retrain tens of millions of people to become robot technicians or AI engineers, as there simply will not be enough of those jobs to take in all of those technologically displaced people. And before anyone says, we'll just go learn a trade, those jobs will be reduced automated building methodologies due to cost efficiencies. Not everyone who will lose their jobs to technology is cut out to be a wind turbine technician, an iron worker, welder, roofer, carpenter, plumber, AC technician, or installer. And even then, there are only so many of those trade jobs to fill. And do you expect a 50 or 60-year-old close to retirement worker working a desk job in inside sales to go strap on a tool belt, start climbing 10-foot ladders and nailing down shingles for $12 an hour? Consider the human impact of what technological unemployment will bring. As mentioned before, we've already seen the horrendous impacts upon people's mental health and well-being since 2007. Now imagine tens of millions of people who have lost their livelihoods. When you have conditioned an entire generation from birth to go to school, work hard, study, and sacrifice, and all will be well, and then pull the rug out from under them and give them no agency over their lives, a myriad of mental illness can and will take hold. Now imagine the future to come when big tech takes away not only a person's means to livelihood, but destroys their entire identity. People spend decades of their lives going to school, getting higher education, and training to become teachers, artists, graphic designers, tradesmen, programmers, writers, engineers, and so forth. Oftentimes saddled with massive debt to do so. And when the 1% ownership class, big tech and big business ruthlessly comes in and says, sorry, we don't need you anymore, this machine will suffice, and shows you the door, that will shatter people's identities and leave them angry. Some people can recover from a lost identity and adapt and move on, while others simply cannot. As a result of NAFTA, how many times have you heard from someone in their 50s and 60s who lost their job due to outsourcing say, I worked for XYZ company and was an ABC technician for 25 years and that's all I know. I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet. Well, imagine this is what everyone is going to be saying on social media in 2029. What is very concerning, as a recent history has shown, and what our two recent elections in America have shown, is that the masses turn to rage, resentment, infighting, and violence when economies start to fail and social conditions become unbearable. We have already seen the ugliness of society in the 2020s. Imagine dealing with a society of 70 to 100 million angry Americans with no future. Technological displacement and unemployment will be a root cause of societal instability if we do not start taking actions to address them now. Big tech and the 1% don't care about us. They've got that elitist, F you, I got mine, so they don't care. And towards us, the 99%, they have this, well, you'll figure it out, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps attitude. Big tech, as it rushes irresponsibly headlong into the future, recklessly shoving AI and automation down humanity's throat, will create massive technological unemployment and displacement that will cause a lot of death, destruction, anger, resentment, mental illness, and misery, not only in America, but around the world. Consider that America is the epicenter for rapid technological innovation. Technological unemployment and displacement will hit America first and the hardest. And since America tries to dictate its policies and enforce its hegemony around the world, a destabilized America is a danger to the world, as America always turns to external enemies to fight, to rally around the flag when domestic strife occurs. In the 2020s, we already witnessed the erosion of our money's purchasing power. And when AI and automation have gutted the working class, we will have hyperinflation as a consequence of AI, automation, and capitalism. In order just to survive, more and more technologically displaced and unemployed people will have to turn to debt and credit cards just to survive, which means more and more aggregate debt, which means more and more money printing, which then becomes an expansionary, self-reinforcing feedback loop. In the early 2020s, we already see people struggling to repay student loans, afford renting, let alone buying a house, and live paycheck to paycheck. The student loan debt crisis will only explode as all those people who went to college will never repay their loans as delinquent, and deferred balances grow and grow. Technological unemployment will only exacerbate all of these situations. Eventually, there will be a point in which producers are so efficient at making goods with such a minimal workforce that you will have a population with such an inflated currency and so highly in debt, those consumers will not be able to buy the products made by the producers because they have no money to spend. The purchasing power will be so diluted, and at that point, there will be a systemic failure. Don't you think there's a reason why you're seeing all these tech billionaires cozying up to proto-fascists? Now, let's ponder a very probable worst-case scenario for when that time comes. Why universal basic income, UBI, is not a solution. So in the next 10 to 15 years, the 1% ownership class are going to have tens of millions of unemployed and underemployed people who are frustrated, angry, bitter, and resentful, who feel like they have nothing to lose. From the 1%'s perspective, if we, the 1% ownership class, do nothing, the peasants will come for us with their pitchforks and guillotines. So the 1% are right now trying to determine what they are going to do with all these idle hands ready to do the devil's work. There have been proposals to provide universal basic income, or UBI, to the people. UBI is basically a program where the government gives people a monthly stipend to use at their discretion. The supposed source of the money would come from the taxation of the ownership class, or from raising taxes. If we, the working class, are very unlucky, at that time of a systemic collapse, America will either fall into social chaos or a right-wing techno-fascist technocracy that will impose a universal basic income alongside an earned income stipend under their terms. Imagine a scenario waking up in a world where, in order to get on subsidized UBI or earned income stipend, you must go work for a techno-autocrat like Musk or Bezos or Gates or Pichai. Your health care will be tied to your UBI. If you complain, your UBI and earned income stipend will be reduced. If you go on strike, your UBI and earned income stipend ends. Imagine a fascistic tech bro, tech crypto dystopia where your entire life, conversations, movements, spending habits, and money are all tied into a corporal fascist centralized blockchain system fully integrated into the U.S. government, Social Security, Department of Homeland Security, NSA, and IRS systems. Imagine being an LGBTQ person just trying to exist under such a right-wing technocratic fascist system. How about if you're a woman seeking contraceptives or access to reproductive health care, and your entire livelihood depends on right-wing UBI or earned income stipend? Do you think that's far-fetched? Remember, these people think the whole purpose in life is working to make money so much that these techno-fascists want to set up their own corporate cities 2.0. All the technology to make such a nightmare dystopic scenario is nearly in place. Why do you think Elon Musk whispers in Trump's ear about crypto and letting him run amok with Doge? And do you really think that the 1% ownership class would let anyone ever have a no strings attached UBI, since UBI money would be drawn out of their profits? A few years ago, universal basic income was touted as a solution for fixing the coming technological unemployment and displacement issues. UBI is nothing more than some free market libertarian's wet dream. Any UBI that humanity attempts to implement will be co-opted and corrupted by corporations, especially big tech, to benefit them from their inception. UBI will be nothing more than a company script 2.0, in which you are basically nothing more than a digital sim who is subsidized to work stupid, useless, crappy jobs in order to go spend blockchain crypto on a company plantation. And as an aside, subsidized UBI is antithetical to any true environmental sustainability, because UBI will be used to perpetuate economic growth using you as a perpetual consumer. So what do we do? Politicians do not have solutions for technological displacement and unemployment. Our current socioeconomic system is so broken, bought off, and centralized, it's futile to try and even change it through political means. Big tech oligarchs are now whispering into the ears of proto-fascists the very things this essay podcast is telling you. For corporations and sociopathic politicians, technological unemployment and displacement is their ultimate chance at an ultimate power grab. Capitalism is going to run wild with AI and automation and scoop up every bit of money, power, and control they can. They have no incentive to be job creators anymore. There is more power and control in becoming job destroyers in this era of humanity. These 1% techno-oligarchs are going to run society into the ground, get as much power as they can, and leave the 99% to economically suffer in their wake, so that they can force humanity to think that they are our technocratic saviors and that we will come begging to them to save us with their technocratic system to survive. I'm generally 8 to 12 years ahead of the curve when it comes to politics, technological shifts, and trends. 10 years ago, I understood where society was heading and knew proto-fascism was coming to societies around the world. 6 years ago, I was equating 1920s and 30s Germany to America, and it was so painful to watch, as so few Americans realized this, let alone spoke up about it. It's been painful to sit here quietly in the shadows, watching the fascism train arrive, and to see that only when it has arrived at the station that people finally wake the fuck up and see what's happening and start doing something about it. So similar is the situation with technological displacement and unemployment. Like the fascism train, no one is really paying attention to or talking about technological displacement and unemployment. So that is one of my main motivations for becoming active and vocal. I understand from the historical context that fascism arises, peaks, and eventually is defeated, but at great cost, death, and destruction. While it is not too late to mitigate or prevent the rise of fascism in America and around the world, if people are not made aware of technological displacement and unemployment, fascists will use technological unemployment and displacement to their advantage, to take advantage of disaffected people, to twist them to their means. So that will make resisting and overcoming fascists that more destructive and violent. The coming tsunami of technological employment and displacement is something we need to start dealing with now. If we do not get ahead of this and start making our own innovative ways of living, we are going to find ourselves in a crypto, blockchain surveillance state run by self-appointed demigod techno-fascists. The left and their allies need a total paradigm shift in what we need to do. First of all, we need to stop thinking in the obsolete terms of a wage-earning 40-hour-a-week system promised to us under our social contract. That system is dying. Let it go. And did that sort of arrangement really bring you fulfillment, contentment, and good health anyways? The left and their allies just cannot sit here and complain on social media every day. We cannot wait around 2 or 4 more years just hoping for the best while the tide of right-wing techno-fascism engulfs us. And when technological displacement and unemployment comes online full force, and if we have done nothing, it will be too late. We have to take initiative and make our own peaceful and innovative revolution outside of the current system. We need to use the technology and the know-how that we have at our disposals and start making our own means of production outside of the current capitalist economic system. This means decentralizing the means of production as best as possible on a group, personal, and enclave level. This means pulling our capital together, buying land somewhere, and setting up enclaves where we use technology to make the things we really need on our own terms. This means reducing and abandoning our dependency on chaotic market economics. In this way, we can reduce our dependency upon capitalism and mitigate the effects of right-wing techno-fascism. We can use the very technologies that right-wing technocrats are attempting to take over society with and use them for our own means to stay free and stay autonomous. Creating our own enclaves means starting basic implementations of technological areas such as open source, permaculture, 3D printing, vertical farming, decentralized mesh networks, decentralized technologies in general, automation and cybernetics, and energy production as best as possible. Yes, it's going to be messy, disorganized, and chaotic as we figure out things in the beginning, but some of us have to get together and start building an alternative system somewhere, somehow. Some of us have to start building it, showing and demonstrating a new and alternative way forward so others can see and understand. I understand that decentralization and building decentralized enclaves are very radical ideas, but we are living in unprecedented radical times. And unprecedented radical times means taking unprecedented and radical actions. We cannot put off taking action any longer. Our revolution has to be smart and innovative. To paraphrase Buckminster Fuller, we cannot fight the system head on. We have to go outside of this system and start making something so efficient that it renders the old system obsolete and undesirable. We need to use technology to our benefit, to retain our liberties, and to remain bulwarks against the rising tide of techno-fascism. We have the technology, we have the knowledge, we have the wisdom, we just lack the motivation and collaboration, and we are running out of time. Technological displacement and employment are the ignored, defining issues of our time that will force our hand, that will force us to make a decision for the future we want. We can dream big and dream for a decentralized, self-sufficient, and truly ecological, sustainable society where we are masters of our own fate. Or we can accept a future where we become a society that dances to the cryptocurrency, algorithms, and dictates of a tech bro, tech fascist dystopia. For the most part, it's gone absolutely unacknowledged and unknown by the working class. that technology has always played a crucial role in how humans culturally viewed work and why humans had to work, and that we must start asking ourselves, in this time of technological displacement and unemployment, why do we work in the first place? And who should we be working for? And how we should be using technology to benefit us, not the 1% ownership class. And that for the working class, no one is going to come in and save us, that it's going to be up to us to save ourselves.